Hello, this is Sara with Posh Pooch Designs, and today's video I'm going to show you how to make this fun dog bone crocheted cookie. Now, this is a great applique. You can stick it on a stocking, a bag, a purse, a scarf, a hat, dog sweater, dog harness, anything that you want to. It's just a fun little dog bone applique. Now, this pattern is a free pattern on my blog, and the neat thing about it is there are two ways to make it. You can make it like this one with single strand of yarn, worsted weight number 4, this is Red Heart, or you can make it with 2 strands. Now today we're going to be using 2 strands of this worsted weight yarn. It's a little lighter in color than this one. You're also going to need another color like this red to make a bow, and I'm going to show you how to chain a bow and add that. And then you also need a fun little button, and I'm going to use this little heart button. You'll need a needle and a pair of scissors. And for the one we did here that was a single strand, you'll be using an H hook. If you're using a double strand, you're going to need a J hook. And for today's demonstration, like I said, you're going to need to use a J hook. Alright, let's get started. Now we are going to be working the dog bone cookie applique crochet pattern with 2 strands of worsted weight number 4. And just for a little hint on what I do is I roll 2 balls, and this one sort of came undone, and I put them together to the side, and I usually put them in a bowl or a box or something. You can also, if you're working off one skein of yarn, pull one strand from one end and the other strand from the outside and work together with those. That way you don't have to have 2 skeins or skeins, however you want to say it, of yarn when you only need a small amount of yarn. So I think it works best to just roll it in a couple of balls and work it together. And when you're working with 2 strands of yarn, you do it exactly the same as you would working with 1 strand. So we're going to begin by making our slip knot, putting that on our hook, and then we're going to chain 11 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Now the first thing that you'll notice, here's our 2-stranded one, is it's going to be quite a bit bigger than the 1 strand. And that's another thing to remember is if you want it smaller, because this one measures, let me grab my handy dandy measuring thing. If you just do it with, there's the one skein, this measures just about 3.5 inches. This one here will measure about 5 inches, just to give you an idea of what size you're looking for to make. Then you can decide which way you want to do it. Alright, so we've chained our 11. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to put 1 single crochet in the 2nd chain from the hook. So here's our 1st chain, here's our 2nd chain. Let's put 1 single crochet in the 2nd chain from the hook. And then we're going to put 1 single crochet in each chain across, and that's going to give us 10 single crochets. And as you can see, you go through, you put your loops up exactly the same as you would working with 1 strand of yarn. And working with 2 strands of yarn is a great way to make something a little bit bigger. You do have to be careful like that you grab both of them. Now another alternative is just to go up from a worsted weight 4, go to a worsted weight 5, and then you can, if you have it on hand, and then you won't have to use 2 strands. So this pattern is really pretty versatile. The main thing is try to match the hook with the yarn that the chunkier yarn is suggesting. And I always try to do that, and sometimes I'll practice and I don't like it and I might go up or down a hook size. So, alright, so we've made 10 single crochets. And you can see stitching with 2 strands really isn't any different. Just got to keep your balls from rolling off the table. All right, so now we have 10 single crochets, and we're going to put our first dog bone bumps on the end. So what we're going to do is we're going to chain 2, 1, 2, and then we're going to place 2 double crochets in the top stitch. So a double crochet right here in the end of that top stitch. There's 1. Go right back in there. And then there's 2. Go ahead and get through both of those loopy loops. Okay. And then we're going to chain 2, 1, 2. And we're forming our first bump. We're going to go right in here and single crochet. And you can see we formed our first dog bone bump. Now we're going to repeat that. We're going to chain 2, and we're going to go in this first chain right here, and we're going to make 2 double crochets. 1, 2. Then we're going to chain 2, 1, 2, and now we're going to go right back in that same stitch and stitch a single crochet. And you can see there's our 2 dog bone bumps. All right, so the next thing we're going to do, and you'll notice we have our string here, and what I do is I just lay it there, because we're going to be single crocheting back down this side of the chain, and I'm just going to single crochet over this tail also, and that will hold it down. And I'll go back and check it and make sure it's tied in real good, and if not, I'll fix it with the needle, but if not, I'll just leave it there, and I'll show you as we go. So let's put 1 single crochet in each single crochet down this opposite side of the chain, and we're just working single crocheting right down the side. A little more yarn out here. I'm going to move those strings now out of the way. There we go. And now we're to the end of the other end, and we need to make 2 more of our dog bumps like this, so that it looks like a dog bone. So we're going to repeat what we did on this end down here. So let's chain 2, put 2 double crochets in that top stitch, 1, 2, we're going to chain 2, 1, 2, then we're going to single crochet right here in that center spot. Oops, got to get both those strands when you're working with 2 strands. All right, we'll move that over a little so we can see. There's our first dog bump, and then we see single crocheted in the middle. Then we're going to chain 2. And then we're going to put 2 double crochets in the top of the end of the other row. 1, 2 double crochets. And then we're going to chain 2. And we're going to go down in here, and we're going to join with a slip stitch in that same spot. And then we're going to just take 1 slip stitch and cut our string. And give yourself a nice amount so that you can weave that in. Then we'll pull that through and tie that off. And let's look at it first so that you can see we have our 2 dog bumps. We have 2 dog bumps down here. and our dog bone. And see how simple and easy that is? And another thing to remember, because we're using 10 stitches in here, if you want your dog bone longer, say you have a wider, maybe you want to put this across the top of a stocking or a hat or something, and you want this a little bit longer, you can, because we start with 11 stitches and we just do 10 single crochets because the first one we're skipping. And if you want it longer, just add more at the beginning. Just remember, you know, how many you did, because you're going to need that many stitches when we come back and do the opposite side. So I'm going to turn it over, and we worked those stitches in there, so I'm going to go ahead and cut that one. And then we're going to use our needle. And when you're working with two, I try to go ahead and grab both of those yarns at the same time. And I'm just going to go right in here and just work those stitches in a little bit. And there's two, so I got it really snug on those. And just pull that in and cut that off. That's the back, and this is the front. Now, I prefer to do the 2 strands or a chunky yarn when I'm going to use this as a decoration for my Christmas tree. And so that's why the pattern says to use 2 strands. But if you want to make it smaller, I want to bring this one back out so you can see. The smaller one, we used 1 strand with an H hook, and the bigger one we used 2 strands with a J hook. All right, now just to decorate it, we're going to use this red yarn and this red button. And I like to just make a chained bow. This one I just tied it on because it's so small. I want the ribbon to be, you know, I don't want it to be too big. And then this button is just sitting here. It needs to be sewed down. And sometimes I'll even hot glue them if I'm going to use them for a decoration. I'll hot glue that button on. Since it's not a button that is going to be used, it's just for decoration. All right, this one's got these 2 big holes, so I'm probably going to sew that one on. So let's, I'm going to move it first, and then we're going to chain. I'll chain with my needle. That doesn't work. Okay, there we go. We're going to make our slip knot, and we're just going to make a chain. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm going to make 26. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and go with 26. I want enough where I can tie it. And I'm going to show you what I do. I'm going to go ahead and tie that off. When I'm going to make a ribbon or a tie from a chain, what I do after I cut it off, I go ahead and just weave this back in a little bit so that I don't have an end showing, and clip that off. And that gives you a nice finished edge. And do the other side. We're just going to go right back in that initial chain and just weave it in and out a little bit. And I like to make sure on my last, when I go through a stitch, a chain, and not just through a chain. That way it holds real good. There we go. And what I do, I find the center and I just go through like this. And it'll be a little bit tight, but you can get it through there, and that way it holds. And I just do the typical little bunny ear tie like that. And then, and oh, look there, see, I didn't get that tied off real good. Let's clip that again so that's not showing. You can do that, or you can just do like this. And a lot of times I just do like that, and then I just add the button. It just, however that you want to do it. I really want to do that one in a bow. I like it better in a bow. There we go. All right, and then just to sew your button on, cut you off a piece of yarn that matches. You can place your button wherever you want it. And that the holes are going up and down. So I'm just going to go in and out and bring it to the back like that. Since it's a decorative button and not one that I'm going to be buttoning in a buttonhole or anything, just going to give that a little bit of a snug tie. And clip those yarn strings. And there you have it. A nice dog bone you can use to put on your dog's stocking or his clothes, or anyone who loves puppies. Or you can use it for a decoration. Just hang you another piece of yarn, maybe in another color, and hang it on your Christmas tree. Isn't that cute? This is our dog bone cookie crochet pattern. You can do it with 2 strands or with 1 strand.